December for the city of Russellville. And I appreciate everybody being here and your patience. We had a rather busy finance committee meeting. And with that, I'm going to ask everyone to stand, and I want to welcome new Pastor Jeff Walshauer at Fellowship Church, who will lead us this evening. Please remain standing, and we will salute the flag and say our pledge. Thank you.
Thank you for the privilege of being here. My family and I moved from Texas, have been here only 6 months, and we sure do love this city. It's just really fun to be here to pray for you. So let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for your blessings. We see them all around us. Even as we hear the siren go by, we have people to serve us and care for us in times of need. So we're grateful for that. Pray your blessing tonight on this meeting. Pray that each council member would just have wisdom that comes from you, and just have unity and be able to have honest discussions but still get along and bless one another. And just pray for this city, that you continue to bless it as you have. Pray us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I hear any action regarding the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We got 2 or 3 things here for the mayor's report. And first of all, I guess I'm going to say we have set or need to set the date for the swearing in of the newly elected officials. Mr. Horton, do you have any plan or recommendation for that?
Well, several of us have talked, and not all of us, but 4 years ago we did it at the depot, had our own swearing-in ceremony. We used the depot because this building was still under construction. And I think there's pretty good support for us having our own swearing-in ceremony here on January 1st. If we're going to do that, we need to respect the fact that the big ceremony is at the courthouse at 10 o'clock and work around that. And then I think we should follow it with a special called meeting and go ahead and do our Organize the City meeting we're required to do.
Are you recommending an earlier time frame or a later time frame for New Year's Day?
I'm comfortable actually with doing it at 1:30 or 2 if everybody else is. You don't have to be early.
Just go early.
You want to go early?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I don't really have a recommendation.
Mr. Irwin, I understand.
I'd like to be able to go
I
to their
personally would like to be
swearing-in.
at home watching some football games.
I think
Later?
Go early.
Okay.
Let's go
9 o'clock,
What's everybody
earlier
think?
than that.
8:30?
Have a little
8:30?
breakfast?
I mean,
I'll
that
just stay
makes
up
no
all night.
difference to me. I just soon do it at 8 o'clock, me
Yeah, me
personally.
too.
Well, I get up at 5:30 anytime
I
after.
get
that.
up.
All
I'll
right.
do 6.
Mr. Horton, make a call.
8 o'clock.
That's fine.
8 o'clock, we'll go ahead and issue a special called meeting notice and we'll organize the city. Who knows, somebody might bring in some leftover biscuits and gravy and we'll just start this thing off
Oh, I'll
right.
have mine already. I've already.
All right.
Is that
That's
okay
good.
with anybody else? I mean, is that okay with everybody?
All right. Well, having said that, it's my privilege to call attention to a couple of folks here that I want to recognize. And I'm going to begin this by identifying and asking him to stand at this time. Mr. Martin Irwin, would you please stand at this time? I have something here that I'm going to hand you that says, in grateful appreciation for your dedicated service as alderman of the city of Russellville, Arkansas, from January 1, 2011 through December 31, 2014. So I know you said that you really weren't too concerned about the swearing in of the next group, but you still have several days of service left here. So I know that you're not one to shirk your duty, but I just want to say thank you for being a part of this council. It is my pleasure. That's all.
My grandson can operate it for you.
Martin, it's been a pleasure.
It has been, Your Honor.
I appreciate your service very much, and thank you for dedicating your time and effort to the city of Russellville.
Thank you very much.
Wish you the very
Thank
best.
you.
Would you like to say something more at this time?
You know me pretty well then. Yes, I would. I'd like to thank every member of this council, people of Russellville and the people of Ward 4 for allowing me the privilege and honor to have served. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's the shortest speech he ever gave.
Thank you, Martin. And I would also like to recognize Mr. Randy Horton. He also will receive this item in grateful appreciation for your dedicated service as alderman for the city of Russellville from January 1, 2011 through December 31, 2014. And then on January 1, 2015, Mr. Horton will assume the responsibilities of mayor of the city of Russellville. Mr. Horton, would you please come forward? Got any film in that thing?
You got Photoshop.
Thank you. Would you like to say something at this time?
No, not really. But with your permission, Mayor and Council, I've got one that I would like to, I've been asked to present. I know we're running a little bit late, but if y'all will allow me a little storytelling time. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a lady, and she was telling me that she had called down to City Hall, and she had a problem. She managed to get a family member to come from out of town and cut her massive holly bushes down, and they got them down out into the yard, but now she didn't have anybody to help. Was there anything the city could do? And then she went on to say that by noon that day, same day, somebody had pulled up in her yard, loaded those bushes, and was getting ready to pull out. And I thought, now, wait a minute, I didn't think the city could do that. The rest of the story is the person that pulled up for the city and loaded those up was Bill Eaton. He couldn't use city equipment or city employees, so he just did it himself. I heard 4 or 5 stories like that in the last few months, and I know that Mayor Eaton is doing that stuff on top of a very busy civic club schedule. He's very active in the Military Officers Association, and he's done a fairly good job of being mayor of a very difficult city sometimes to keep up with everything. So I'm honored that his staff asked me to present him. It says, the city of Russellville honors Bill Eaton for his dedicated and distinguished service as mayor January 1, 2011 to December 31, 2014, and I think that pretty well says it.
Well, Thank you very much. And I know this is a long night, and I apologize for that. I had a friend several years ago, a number of years ago, that every time we had a get-together used to begin with an apology because he said he knew he was going to offend somebody before the night was over, and he just wanted to get all the apologies out of the way up front. So, I do apologize, but I've got to tell you a couple of things that are on my mind, and I will try to be brief. 4 years ago at this time, I was thinking about how long it would take for 4 years to pass in the job of mayor. However, I can tell you it goes by very quickly, particularly when you work with good people who strive to do things right. And I have been blessed, extremely blessed and pleased to have a cadre of department heads that have done exceptionally well, have been very pleasing to me and encouraged me in a lot of respects. And for those of their employees who also are here for citizens of the city of Russellville and who care about who they serve and with whom they work. And that's pretty obvious, I think. But a week ago, I began to think about what I might have to say tonight, and I thought, we're just a week from Christmas Day. And, that's a day that carries a message in its name or in the word. So I really think my message here is that there should be some time for you as an individual, a quiet time, a time apart from all the holiday activities and festivities and all, in a period of solitude to reflect on and enjoy the meaning of the day, when we can pray for the world and not for our narrow concerns. So, having said that, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to serve as your mayor. It has truly been an honor and a pleasure. But more importantly than that, as it has been for me, I want to say something that that happened 48 years ago to me. Anyway, you'll have to forgive me. I married a most wonderful woman 48 years ago today.
Well,
Sharon Hall, who when I met her was driving a 65 Mustang 4 in the floor bright red, and man, I wasn't sure whether I was deciding to marry her or her car. But I married her and her dad kept the car, so that's how that turned out. But anyway, she's the mother of our 3 daughters, of which I'm very proud, and their families. And I want to thank you, dear, for your patience, your perseverance, and your continued love. And that is how I'm going to close this out. Thank you. I think it's time to begin our business, isn't it?
Anytime.
Okay. Financial report, Mr. McCoy.
Mayor and council, November report. General fund revenues, $810,260, 0.72% above our year-to-date projection. Sales tax receipts were $668,927. Franchise fees and permits were $45,465. Our expenditures were $827,116, 3% below our year-to-date projections. We have more receipted than expended, $419,901 to date. Street fund revenues, operations was $333,253. That's 19% above my projections. Sales tax receipts were zero. We've reallocated that to the economic. Our new half-cent sales tax from the street is $44,105. Operational expenses were $140,195, 10% below projections. Sales tax improvements, we spent $48,435. There was no capital improvements. Economic development revenues were $81,736, $76,748 of new sales tax, $4,988 of interest. We had no expenditures. Capital assets revenues were $518,994, $516,061 was new sales tax, $2,933 interest. Expenditures were $41,426, $14,471 to City Corp, $6,102 for animal control, and $21,852 at the airport. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. McCoy? Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
We do have some commission and board appointments at this time, and I would like to ask Mr. Hollis to come forward on the first one, please.
We have two positions on our Parks Commission that need to be filled at this time, beginning in January. The first one would be a reappointment of Mr. Andy Hatley, whose term expires. He's just completed one term. He's retired. Andy's retired from A&O after 32 years. He's been very involved in sports programs. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army, a board member of the Boys. He served as a board member of the Boys and Girls Club for 10 years. He's lived in Russellville since 1976. He's from a large family. I think there's 14 in his family. He is currently serving as a deacon for the Missionary Baptist Church, and he's a charter member of the Progressive Men's Club. And he's married. He's been married for 42 years, and he has 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Andy could not be here tonight. He has a family obligation. The other member, Chloe Lieblong, who has served on our commission for 16 years. Her position has come due. Very appreciative to everything Chloe did for us for that time, the growth and development we had in those 16 years. But her term is up, and we're asking to replace Chloe with Brian Fisher. Brian is the Director of Athletic Relations at Arkansas Tech from 2011 to now. He was selling it with Allstate Insurance Company from 2000 to 2011. He's a graduate of Arkansas Tech in '99 and a graduate of Russellville High School in '95, so he's a homegrown young man. He currently serves on the Russellville Housing Authority Board, Russellville Country Club Board, the Chamber of Commerce Board, River Valley Ducks Unlimited, and the Russellville Lions Club Board. Brian is married and has 2 sons, Jet and Griffin. So I think Brian will be a great asset to the commission and knows a lot about the area and the community. And Brian is here. Brian, if you'll stand up.
Well, I just wanted to thank y'all and tell you it's an honor to have the opportunity to work with the other 4 committee members. I have been here all my life, and hopefully I'm familiar and can help move this committee forward. I know they do a great job, Mr. Hollis and everyone. So just looking forward to next year and excited to get started, and thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Brian.
And the mayor and I.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for these appointments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Brian, we appreciate you and your willingness to serve in this capacity, and thank you, Mr. Hollis. The next one is reappointment of Mr. Tommy Littleton to the Airport Commission Board. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Littleton, would you like to stand up and say anything at this time? I know you've been serving on our board, and we appreciate your service.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say that I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and I'd like to say that with y'all's help, we are doing very well with the airport, and we appreciate your support. And I would very much like to continue to serve. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You've heard the motion, and all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Littleton. We do appreciate that very much. We also have a reappointment of Ms. Pat Petre to the Cemetery Commission, appointment of Mr. David Lee to consider to fill a vacancy that will come forth by Mr. John Harris.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I don't think either of those are here this evening.
No.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
We do appreciate the willingness of these individuals to serve the city of Russellville. Mr. Horton, committee reports from the Finance Committee at this time.
Thank you. The committee met last Tuesday at our regular first meeting, produced a short list. Number one, consideration of a resolution to sell a Dodge van to Second Baptist Church. The committee recommends that in the form of a motion.
All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Number two, a consideration of a resolution to approve the 2015 street fund budget. That's the operating budget. The committee recommends that in the form of a motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Items 3 through 10 are all appropriations. Mr. Irwin, this is your specialty. Do you want to handle those all at one time, or do you think we need to separate anything out?
Well, I think we handled them all at one time at the Finance Committee meeting. They're all pretty straightforward, so I'd suggest that we do them all at once.
They are recommended in the form of a motion.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We met again tonight. The committee recommended item 1, appropriation from street capital for $13,380.78, and that is recommended in the form of a motion.
You have heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Items 2 and 3 were appropriations for to pay a year-end stipend to our employees. That is presented to the full council, but without a recommendation on it.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a
I
motion
guess,
to-
I don't understand what that leaves us. If we don't move forward with the stipend, I mean, we haven't given a raise for next year. Are we just gonna sit on this and let time go by? I mean, I'm just asking the question.
I'll make a motion to approve with the stipend included.
I heard a motion. Was there a second to that motion?
I second it, but would you mind adding the part that,
That was in the budget, the next budget, that was in the budget issue, right?
the one about
That was in the general fund budget,
in May?
number 5.
We're doing 2 and 3 together
Right.
at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I second.
Any other discussion? We had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item 4, line item transfer in the mayor treasurer office to correct a salary adjustment. That's recommended in the form of a motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item 5, consideration of a resolution to approve the 2015 general budget. For clarification, we had 2 options available, one including a watering program with Parks and Rec, one without. The committee recommends the general fund budget without watering, but with an amendment changing the salary for IT director to $55,000.
Annually.
And that's recommended in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. All those in favor of that motion?
Mayor, can we have some discussion, please?
Okay.
Just want to clarify, because I think there's someone in the audience that was possibly going, wanted to hear the discussion about the turf, but just to clarify, the turf and the watering will be discussed at a later time and can be considered as a capital item with capital funds after the first of the year.
That was
Okay.
correct. That was part of the discussion and recommendation. Thank you.
We could go ahead and have the clerk add that to our agenda for January 1st.
Yeah.
Not
Did everybody-
January 1st, our first first finance meeting, if that's
Right.
okay with everybody.
Okay. Any other comments or questions relative to the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item 6 was a discussion item. Mr. Irwin, now would you like to tell how you felt about that?
My recommendation was that the council revisit this issue at the end of every quarter, beginning with the first quarter in 2015, in an effort to bring salary discussion into the budget process at the front end rather than the back end.
Wholeheartedly agree. I say so let it be written, so let it be done. March. Item 7, consideration of a resolution to approve the 2015 special funds budget. That was just presented to the council without a recommendation. That's what took up a lot of our time. And I don't think we really got a solid direction.
Can we approve that? No.
No, it
Is
was,
this the one that got the alliance?
yeah. I'm going to make a motion on my own to table this until January. I'd like to schedule a special called meeting early. We'll try to arrange to have the Alliance Board here and our board.
Second that.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this until January. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor, is there any need, can we pass the rest of them except for those in question? Or are they okay waiting?
I have 3 that I need passed if you're gonna do this. Because they
Okay.
have salaries in them.
Can we, why don't we pass all of them except for those 2 in question?
That's
Okay.
fine too.
We need
I would-
just to amend the motion. Sorry.
Make an amendment.
Well, you could just amend your own motion and be
Okay,
easier.
I'll amend my motion to pass the special funds budget accepting
Fund
economic
3 and
development.
23.
3 economic
3 and
development.
23?
Yes.
And I'll second that.
Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Item 8, consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to negotiate for the addition of Old Shorty area of Bonadee Park into the existing lease with Army Corps of Engineers. This is, for reference purposes, for a new Veterans Park, and the council recommended that in the form of a motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Discussion of the East O Street sidewalk project. We tabled that, didn't we? Where did we leave that, Mr. Irwin?
Table until
We tabled that until
January, I
January.
think. Mhm.
Yeah. So that is all we have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horton. Mr. Stuber, do you have any personnel
I have
Matters?
nothing to report, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Considering that, we'll move to unfinished business. The first item is consideration of an update or discussion regarding possible legal action concerning the rendering plant or premium protein products facility in Russellville. You should have received an update or an outline as was promised at our last, following our last meeting from Mr. Dave Townsend with Pilgrim's Pride. And the reason this is back here, I guess as a discussion more than anything else at this point, is to try to have some further discussion or I guess definition or understanding of what these items that were presented to us, how they can be further described, to make some kind of a determination to whether this is going to meet the expectations that the council had as far as taking any action on this. And it's up to the pleasure of the council where we go with this at this time.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yeah.
It appears to me that they have done exactly what we'd asked them to do. I think we gave them 30 days for the, isn't that correct? Well, for this outline, and then what was the period of time for?
60 days.
60 days from this date to begin to execute these plans.
That's right.
And it looks to me like they have addressed everything that we ask of them, so we ought to just continue with the time, with the schedule. I mean, because we're not gonna know really until June, July, something like that, when it gets, you know, but we ought to at least give them a fighting chance. And
I think there's a couple of issues that came to my mind as I read through this, and Mr. Tripp just mentioned another concern that he had. I think as a council, we ought to have the opportunity at least engage some dialogue, whether it be written or verbal, with premium protein to maybe be able to address some of our concerns with the document. And I'll just throw one out here. They're talking about developing these standard operating procedures, but my question is there an on-site quality assurance individual to ensure enforcement of these? Because if they're in Tennessee or Colorado, wherever they are, they're not going to be smelling the smell that the citizens of Russellville will be.
No.
And they won't be as sensitive to these procedures and whether they follow them or not. So just a question that I have is to compliance with their procedures that they're going to be putting in place. So I'd at least like an opportunity to approach them and submit, maybe in writing, a couple of our concerns that they may be able to address.
I do think that's reasonable, and you have the outline of this, and you bring up a very good point about somebody that would be at the plant.
well, this is what we
Provide
ask
some
of them.
quality assurance. So,
I mean, this is what we ask them, and I think that's a reasonable and logical next step, part of the next step of the process, is how they're going to ensure this, and that's a necessity.
The
As
next
far
step is
as,
supposed to be a much more detailed plan.
Next one
correct?
is, yeah.
So-
yeah.
This,
But
yeah.
As far as some kind of dialogue or meeting or whatever, do you recommend, Mr. Harris, waiting until that subsequent report, or between now and that time frame?
I would be willing to submit my issues in writing to them, and maybe they could incorporate those in the final report, or at least address why, you know, what we're asking is not, they're not able to comply with.
All right.
You can have that dialogue at that time.
Let me suggest this, that you do just that you provide that to the mayor's office and any of the other council members, and if you have dialogue with other citizens, any kind of concerns or questions about this will be posted on our website, and individuals can also respond to this and ask questions.
In
And
all
then
due
we
fairness,
can-
I think we need to set a time limit to get this information to them, so, you know, I would.
Oh,
I would say,
absolutely.
You know, probably within the first week of January, we should have this information to them. And I'm taking into account the holidays, people may not be attuned, but I'd be willing to get that, you know, within the next couple of weeks and get that to them so they have time to respond.
All right.
Well, in the letter to his honor, they, you know, Mr. Townsend indicates that contact him if we have questions or require further information, so I think we
Yep.
require further information.
Okay, so we have a couple of steps that we will take in regard to your recommendations, and we will have some feedback forthcoming. Thank you. Item number 2, second reading of consideration of an ordinance adopting the 2014 Energy Code.
Mayor, I move we suspend the rules and read one time by title only, and that one time constitutes the last 2 readings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules, read by title only with a brief explanation, and that it constitutes the last 2 readings. All those in favor of that motion to suspend the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance providing minimum energy standards for the design of new buildings and structures or portions and additions to existing buildings that provide facilities or shelter for public assembly, education, business, mercantile, institutional, storage, and residential occupancies, as well as those portions of factories and industrial occupancies designed primarily for human occupancy by regulating their exterior envelopes and the selection of their HVAC, service, water, heating, electrical distribution, and illuminating systems and equipment for efficient use of energy provided for a penalty and other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would adopt for the city the state energy code, the 2014 edition, and should go into effect at January 1st, 2015. It's divided in 2 parts. A residential and commercial section provides for a penalty and sets out the nature of that penalty.
Move we
Thank you.
adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion at this time?
Yes, I have a couple of points I'd just like to point out, because I guess, you know, I raised some issues at the last council meeting. I went through the document, and I've also met with Brian to discuss this ordinance. And I guess what I want to do here is just to kind of point out a few things that we're adopting when we adopt this ordinance. Now, I understand it's state law, and we're going to have to comply, City of Russellville will have to comply whether we want to or not. But, you know, it seems to me like we ought to at least understand maybe some of the issues associated with this ordinance. So I'm just going to mention a few of these, and these are for reference only. Going after January 1st, once we adopt this ordinance, when you build a house, you'll have to provide insulation for your slab. Okay. If you have a pier and beam, you'll have to provide insulation under your floor beams. When you spray your attic with insulation, you can't just spray by volume. You're going to have to measure along your attic, and you're going to have to make sure that it's spread evenly through your attic. This ordinance, this law, or these rules also apply if you do an addition to your home. So if you decide to add on to your home, your existing home is grandfathered, but if you do an addition to your home, you'll have to comply with these new rules. And according to Mr. Holstein, when I talked to him, the average increase in cost to a home is going to be about $2,500 based on these new rules. So that's all I have.
And I might add, as well as the initial cost, the savings that are anticipated should offset the cost of that as well. So, any other discussion, comments? Ms. Collins, why don't you just call the roll, please?
Mr. Stuber,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Harris.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you, lady and gentlemen. Consideration number 3 of an ordinance to adopt the 2014 National Electric Code. This is the second reading for this ordinance also.
Mayor, I move to suspend the rules, read one time, to constitute both readings with an short explanation.
I'd second that motion.
I'm not going to repeat that. I think everybody understood it. All those in favor to suspend the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
An ordinance adopting the 2014 National Electric Code providing for penalty of other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would adopt the 2014 National Energy Code, which is being adopted by the state of Arkansas, prescribes a penalty and sets forth that penalty in this ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Collins, please read the roll.
Mr. Stuber,
Yes.
Mr. Irwin,
Yes.
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Here, yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving to new business. Item number 1 is for the consideration of a public hearing. And at this time, I will open the public hearing on this item, which is for consideration of an ordinance to vacate a portion of South Arlington Avenue. Are there persons here who are involved with the closing of this? Yes, ma'am. Would you like to say anything, ma'am, in regard to this? Would you please step to them? I'm sorry. Thank you very much. State who you are, please. And
I'm Danielle Frederick, and I live at 2425 West 4th Street. And the area next to us is just vacant, and we were just hoping to have it for more backyard space. The neighbors next to us are elderly, and they don't want anything to do with it, so they're happy that this is happening.
Okay.
So, thank you for.
You mean are they in favor of being vacated, or do they want the city to retain?
They're in favor of it, as I understand.
They thought it was theirs already, so they were thrilled to find out it's not theirs to keep up with. So,
Is there anyone here who wants to speak in opposition to this at this time? I hear none, so based upon that, I'm going to close the public hearing in regard to this item. With that understanding, do we have any kind of a motion for action in regard to this request?
Make a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only with a short explanation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules, read by title only with a short explanation. Will this be first reading? One time only? Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. Any opposed?
An ordinance vacating and abandoning parts of a vacant right-of-way in Block 2 between Lot 10 and Lot 24, Brookside Estates addition in the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would vacate the previously mentioned right-of-way that is in Brookside Estates, as further described in Exhibit A that's attached with this ordinance.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Would you please read the roll, Ms. Collins?
Could I verify the motion and second?
Motion was made by Mr. Wiley, seconded by Mr. Irwin.
Thank you. Mr. Wiley? Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Horton?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Freddie Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Stuber?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen, lady. New number 2, consideration of resolution to approve special use permit to allow a motorcycle and ATV shop at 3223 North Arkansas Avenue.
So move.
Seconded.
Have motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New number 3, consideration of resolution to approve a special use permit to allow towing and wrecker service, impoundment lot, U-Haul rental, etc. at 1221 East 14th Street.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and who made the second on that? Okay, Mr. You got it? Okay, Mr. Wiley made the second on that. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 4, consideration of a discussion relative to food trailers in the city of Russellville. Mr. Harris?
Mayor, I don't have much to add. We talked about this in the agenda meeting the other day, and I did provide some information to the council. I'm not sure how to proceed at this point, except to hear any comments if the public would like to weigh in at some point in the near future. And then maybe I would work with Mr. Trey Smith to develop an ordinance that present to the council at some point in the future.
All right, any other discussion on this matter?
I would just like to encourage Mr. Harris to keep on working on this one.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, number 5, consideration to change the January 2015 council meeting from our regular date to January 22nd to accommodate Municipal League Conference.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I don't object to that at all, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, you know what, Mr. Irwin, if you would have had any objection, I think you would have been overridden on this one.
expect so, but-
Anyway, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. New number 6, consideration resolution regarding the Boys and Girls Club of the Arkansas River Valley.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 7, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk into an agreement with Main Street Russellville.
Just have one quick question, one quick thing. Section 6, because the city's going to acquire Depot Park, that will have to be added.
We can,
Added to section 6, which is that they're going, the Main Street Russell will manage and coordinate the activities at Depot Park.
can we do that by motion to add or after?
May I say something
Yes.
too? I'm sorry because I approached Freddie before you all addressed this.
Well, let me say something before we go forward. We didn't make any kind of a motion, and we're really not into the steps at this time.
So we need to
Then we
make
can make a motion, and then we can discuss what we need to do.
I make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
all right. We have a motion and a second. Now let's continue the discussion.
Now, can we add this, Mr. Smith, can we do this with the motion to add?
Yes, just in section 6, just put and Depot Park beside the depot.
Okay.
In line 3 and 4, and that'll take care of what.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, well, we had one motion.
Well, we
Well, let's make sure Betsy
We-
is clear.
We need to amend
I
the
thought the
original
city
motion.
had already accepted the responsibility of that depot park back when we appropriated the funds for it.
We did, Mr. Stuber, but in the contract or agreement with them, we just want to add the language that includes that.
Okay.
You're right, we already have it, and
Yeah,
so,
but this is a 2015 contract. though.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, we need to vote first to amend the original motion. All those in favor of that amended motion, say,
Wait, can we wait just a second? Just to make sure that I'm missing something based on what my understanding of this change is supposed to mean, and I think Betsy would like to explain. It comes with the management of the depot park. Once everything is done. They will rent it, provide activities for it, keep it, whatever. They're gonna maintain it in the same manner in which they maintain the depot and their other things.
And we're just clarifying what it is.
So just, I mean, it's not the fact the city took it back, it's that as they will take over the management of it.
Yeah, it's just an agreement to do the same thing with Depot Park as they are currently doing in the 2014 agreement that we have with the depot itself. Go ahead, Ms. McGuire.
I apologize for the jumping the gun a moment ago. It's just in my nature. But I will point this out. As I read through this document while we were sitting here, I did notice there were probably a couple of other places in that document where Depot Park needs to be added that you might want to, I'd rather you all address or look at that before we do that, rather than having to come back and revise that later. It just makes perfect sense. But all we are doing is continuing what we've been doing with that Depot Park for the last probably 10 years, or maybe just short of that, since we rehabilitated the depot. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you.
Mr. Smith, what do you think?
Yes.
We're good to do that. Yes.
I need to amend my motion then to include other sections.
Amend the motion to what? I'm sorry.
To add that language to other
Yeah,
sections as
yes,
well?
yes.
Okay.
All right, we have
I will make it.
a request to amend, to add that in the other sections as identified then. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now, we need to get to the main motion to pass this resolution. What's your pleasure?
It's already,
We have
Just
a
need to
motion
vote.
second.
the motion was already
It was
made.
already made, never
Yeah,
mind.
so just a
Excuse
vote.
me. That's right. All those in favor of that original motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Does anybody have any desire to stay any longer?
Motion to adjourn, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Irwin.
We'll miss you, Martin.